Okay, hi everybody. So I'm going to show you how you can do your slab clay tile today, okay? So I'm starting here with a ball of clay. Now the only clay I've got at home is air drying white clay, but you'll have the grey clay I think today to work with, or the brownish red terracotta that you can work with. So imagine that I've already knocked the air out of this, so I've been wedging already, so all the air is out of it. And I'm getting it into a ball to start with so that I can roll it out nice and evenly. And to help us roll it out evenly, we're using ruler guides, okay? And these are thicknesses of wood. Make sure they're the same thickness, and then you're going to put those either side of your ball of clay, okay? Notice I'm working on some kind of mat here rather than straight onto the table, because if you go onto the table it will stick, and this should stop it from sticking, so it's easier to transport it once you have made it or half making it, okay? Then I'm going to use my rolling pin, and I'm rolling out backwards and forwards a little bit, okay? I'm then turning the clay, and again I'm going backwards and forwards, okay? So the backwards and forwards action means that you're going to get more pressure and more even pressure either side of this, okay? Whereas if you're trying to use your body and twisting, you'll start to get it uneven. So this way we're getting it nice and even, going backwards and forwards until your rolling pin is resting on those ruler guides, okay? And it's a really good idea to use the ruler guides either side, because otherwise you'll end up with one end being really thick, one end being really thin with children doing it. And that isn't very helpful for what they're doing, and particularly if we're looking at a slab or a tile, we want it to be nice and even all the way over. Okay, so it looks like now I can feel that that rolling pin is resting on the ruler guides, and I've got it nice and even here. There we go. Okay, now I'm resting my template over, and I can see that it's not quite big enough, okay? So at this point I'm going to take the ruler guides away, and I'm just going to gently roll it out just a little bit bigger. So I'm not going too much, I'm not going too heavy-handed with it, just a little bit. Well, we're almost there. Just so that I can get it even, I'm going to go the other way as well. Almost there. We don't want to go too thin, otherwise it does break. We're very close now. Right, we got it on that one, and we got it there. Okay, so using a sharper implement, I can now carefully cut around my template. And I should then have my base nice and flat, nice and even, and not too thin, but also not too thick. I'm going to turn that around. And cutting that last bit off there as well. Okay, so all of this excess can then be used to build up the textured layers. So I've got my plan here already. So this is my plan of what I'm going to be doing, and thinking how I'm going to build that up as I go. So my base, I might want to move to one side slightly, and then think about what I'm going to do here. So I might try and build up this shape here, and this is the top of the gherkin. So I can cut into my design. And then that can become the template for the extra bit of layer that I'm going to attach with the clay. So again, using my ruler guides either side, back into a ball here. Rolling out, turning. rolling out again, turning. Okay, and I'm placing my paper template over the top, just the way I did for the cardboard one. And I'm cutting. I think you've got sharper tools than what I've got here at the moment. There we go, the last little bit there. Okay, so according to my design, that is going to be attached on this corner here. Okay, now if I was just to lay that over the top there, that might feel fairly secure as it's the damp clay that we're working with, but over time when this dries, or when it goes into the kiln to be fired, that will just fall apart unless we're securely attaching one bit of clay to another. Okay. So one way you can do this is to mix up your own sludge, and in this pot here I've mixed up my own sludge or slip, and this is by using just little bits of the clay, placing it into the bowl, and then you add water to the mixture and you're mixing until you ended up with this gluey kind of consistency. Okay, and then you coat that glue consistency over the top of the two bits that are going to be attached. It's also a good idea to kind of score the surface as well, so it really kind of adheres one surface to another. So scoring, adding the slip, and then checking the design. Here we go. So this bit goes right onto there like that, and then press nice and firmly, and you should then feel the two securely attached. And then I would also add a little bit just to go along the seam. So any kind of edges that you can see there, I'd run a little bit over, and then also using the tools to kind of cover over those edges. So where you've got one attached to another, it shouldn't be too obvious then. Again, using your fingers, or you can use a brush. You can see that starting where it was a fairly rough edge that I had there. It's now starting to smooth out a little bit further. Right, so we've got the top of the gherkin on there. And I'm looking at my design, I'm thinking what else is on here? So I've got these almost like the parts in between some paving slabs. Now I could just draw these straight on. Like that. And I've got another one coming up there and there. So one way you can draw into it, or you might want to roll it between your hands like you're making a long coil part, and then that could be attached if you wanted that to go in there. So again, you're attaching one bit of clay to another, so you're scoring, adding the slip. If you haven't got time to mix up slip, you can do the same thing by scoring and using water, but I have found with children you can't guarantee that they've used enough water to adhere the two bits together, and they'll be very disappointed if they spent 3 hours making something that then falls apart because they haven't remembered all the stages that they needed to. So to avoid any disappointment, I would, if you've got time to, try and mix up some pots of the slip to go on the tables as well. Right, so that could be attached on there like that. We could then actually add some texture. So I'm almost thinking, right, I'm going to add a little bit of texture here as well. So just by using the tools there, and then I've got some other tools here as well, which I might then think about what else I can do. So I've got some Lego pieces here, which I can press into to get different textures. This works quite well for kind of architecture or the built environment. There we are, so just a few bits on there. I've got this, it could almost be like the London Eye there as well, or I might draw into that and see that's a slightly different pattern there. That's working quite well. And I almost need a separation, I think, between the two bits there. Or we've got, so we could make some of these balls that I've attached on here as well. Got a few of those. Again, we're using the slip to attach them. See if that's working there. And what else have we got here that we can working quite nicely. We might have some more bits that go over the top. So really think about what you can start to mould between your hands and your fingers, but also what you can impress into the surface of that clay as well. And then it's a combination of the layers, the textures, and the different surfaces that's going to make it an interesting tile to look at. Nature's quite good as well. If you've got some leaves from outside, you can press the leaves into the surface here. Take the leaf off and you'll have the leaf print working as well. Right, and smoothing off. As you go. Right, I would obviously spend a lot more time kind of building up the different layers. I've got different bits that I've planned on here. This part I might even have as another layer coming round, okay, but you can work out how you might do things. It might be a combination of trying out some different rollers. That's quite nice as an angle there. Or even just using some of these tools as edges. So I'm just thinking like the edge over here, just pressing that in. Actually has created quite an interesting edge, rather than having it just smoothed off. That's created a little bit more interest there. And what else have I got in here? Even just looking for things around the art room or around the garden or just outside. All of these different tools might actually add a bit more interest as you go. But think back to that design and think about the other slides as well, where we've got different artists showing you different ideas on what you can do. But most importantly, have a little bit of fun with it as well. And it doesn't really matter if your design changes a little bit to what you had on here. At least by having a paper design, it's a starting point. And if you choose to change, you choose to change it as you go. That's the decisions you can make. Okay, thank you very much. Have fun.